While the title of the book may be a little wrong and they should have thought a little better, the games played by Shamkovich are interesting, in my opinion, and without wasting time, I would like to show you another of his games. In this case, the game was played at the American Open in 1976. You might think that a lot has changed from 1976, undoubtedly yes, but at the same time, club players are always club players, right? And they do make the mistakes that we will see in this game. Shamkovich was white and Bloom was black. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, castle, knight takes e4, and rook e1. Here it shows a positional plan which happened after d4, and it says modern practice more frequently feature the following positional plan, which is d4, knight d6, bishop takes e6, d takes e6, d takes e5, knight f5, and queen takes d8. And here it says with a slight advantage to white. The text, which means the text move, leads to dynamic play, the theoretical foundation of which was established in the last century by such giants as Steinitz, Zukertort, Lasker, Schletter, Pillsbury, and others, and numerous contemporary grandmasters, which mean that if one wants to play the Ruy Lopez, probably it would be a good idea to watch the games by Steinitz, Zukertort, Lasker, Schletter, Pillsbury, and so on, because that will definitely give you an idea. Now let's return back, and in some cases it can give you not only an idea on how to play a certain opening, but also an idea why some moves are wrong, because in those times theory was not developed like today, and so it's great to see those games. So we said e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, knight f6, castle, knight takes e4, and rook e1. Now there is knight d6, knight takes e5, bishop e7, and now there is a move that is called experimental, which is queen h5. Here it says Lyuboyevich experimental move originated against Calvo in Lanzarote in 1973. In that time, it seems the game continued with knight takes e5, queen takes e5, knight takes b5, and then follow queen takes g7 instead of taking the knight there. So, but I don't know. Eventually, guys, watch that game from 1973. What happened here instead is castle. I think some of these old Russian grandmasters are teaching us their repertoire with these games. Bishop d3 and g6. Honestly, I don't know, I don't like very much the opening like this. And why? Because as you can see, it's a little strange, right? Yes, these 3 pieces completely out of the game. So I'm kind of curious to see this game and how it goes. By the way, g6 is considered a dubious move. Instead, f5 should have been the move to play. As you can see, honestly, g6 is a move that you would find played in a club player game. So how do you punish this move if this is dubious? If you are white, please pause the video and try to find out what would you play, right? Because that's what makes sense to me in this moment. That's also why I'm showing you these games from a book whose title, honestly, it should be change. Okay, white played knight takes g6, f takes g6, and guess what? Boom! Bishop takes g6, h takes g6, queen takes g6, and now king h8. And here there is a comment by the author that says, although white has committed himself to a series of sacrifices to expose the black king, neither side seems to be out of the opening. And yes, as I mentioned, right? With both queen sides undeveloped, and that's true, yeah. White could settle for perpetual check, but if he can deploy his pieces fast enough, more is in the offing. So, if you were white in this position, what would you play? Because obviously we need to ask ourselves this, right? The right move, it seems, is b3. If instead of b3 would have played rook e3, but that's what I was thinking. There is knight e5, rook h3 check, and bishop h4 with a clear advantage. So in this case, black has a clear advantage if you try to play rook e3. However, again, the book seems to be from the 90s, 1990. Maybe it's better to check it with a computer, right? Now black make a mistake, because black at this point should develop these pieces, right? Because he needs to develop these pieces. So the right move should be this, because then you can do something like this. Instead, he goes for greediness. Wow, with bishop f6. I don't know. Doesn't seem make much sense, this move, right? And guess what? White doesn't care a little bit, because if he takes on a1, the game is definitely over. So he plays rook e3. And black plays bishop g7. That is the only defense against rook h3 that would have given checkmate. So he can escape, right? And here it seems that white made a mistake. And here it says attack requires absolute precision. Here white returns the favor he received at move 12. So if you were white, what would you play? You need to calculate the entire line, honestly, because the right move is rook h3, but he played bishop b2. So why rook h3? Because there is king g8, queen h7 check, king f7, and then there is bishop b2. and black is finished, he says. Ok, se lo dice lui. Boh. So let's try to see why it's finished, because honestly it's a little too long for us, right? So rook h3, okay, king g8, we saw it, queen h7, king f7, and this, okay, because this is a pin, it cannot take, right? Okay, but let's see what could black do. There is queen g5 or knight e8. Okay, so it seems on queen g5 there is rook takes g7, queen takes g7, and rook f3. Boom! And so you lose the queen. If knight e8, rook f3, so knight e8, rook f3, king e6, and queen e4. That's kind of interesting. So it seems the activity of a white rook is deadly, as it plies from h3 to g3 to f3 and e3 with devastating effect. Okay, so that's true in a sense. Let me go back, and so we can see the game, the end of the game. Okay, this was the position in which white should have played rook h3, and instead he played bishop b2. So as we can see, also a long time grandmaster like Shankovic in 1976 could make mistakes. And here black is smart, because it tries to return the material, and that's what you should do when you are under a big attack like black is, right? But obviously white doesn't give is not interested in the material, is interested in trying to give a checkmate. So rook h3, king g8, queen h7, and here there is king f8. And now white actually takes, bishop takes f6. And here, guys, it's kind of interesting, because sometimes you need to give someone that is lower rated or lower rated than you a chance to make mistakes. And the chance to make mistake is to make moves that are not forced, and that they have 3 or 4 different possibilities. Here, as you can see, there is 2 possibilities. Bishop takes f6, queen takes f6. It seems that queen takes f6 is the right move, but you don't know it, right? And so what he plays bishop takes f6. But bishop takes f6 is the losing move. That's kind of crazy to think this. But this was the losing move. How would you know it? More. White continue with rook g3, knight e7, so he's trying to bring the pieces back to protect the king, and obviously why? Because next move rook g8 is checkmate, right? So that's why that knight goes there. The problem is that this is a defender of a square. What you need to do now is remove the defender and you win the game, right? So what do you think white played? White played knight c3, because the idea is knight d5. Once you take this, there is checkmate. Okay? Queen e8, queen h6, check, king f7. And now, obviously, you bring the last piece into the game, while, if you notice, guys, black is still stuck here. So what does he play? He plays rook e1. And he writes, miraculously, all of white's pieces are now in play against the black king. Black remain cramped and uncoordinated. Yes. So there is Queen h8, and now I would urge you to pause the video, think for 3 minutes, right? And then come back and tell me what is the move that you choose, because it's really a great move. And white plays rook takes e7 check. Boom. This is the key shot. King takes e7, knight d5, check again, right? So you cannot escape from all these checks. And of course you must understand what happened here if black plays king d8, okay, because king d8 and the game is over, it says. Why is over with king d8? Because you would play rook g8, check. Here in the book there is a mistake, they say rook h8, but obviously it's a mistake. After queen takes, you take with the queen and give check, and what does he do? If he goes on e8, you play queen e7 checkmate. So that's it, there is not much to do, right? Okay, so let's see how the game continued. The game continued with king e6, after which there is knight takes e7 check, and king e7, knight d5, king e6, knight f4 check, king f5, and now there is queen g6, and after king takes f4, there is another interesting move, because obviously you are trying to block the king from going anywhere, and the move is d4. After bishop takes d4, there is the last move of the game, which is queen g5. Okay, so now he can only go here, and I hope that you see what is the next move by white. White, I think he has two choices, right? One could be f3 checkmate, because the king cannot go here because of the queen. This rank is controlled by this queen. He cannot go here because of this. But in reality, I think it's also possible to give checkmate with rook g4. Because where does it go? It cannot go anywhere. So queen g5 check was the last move, and once he moved away, I don't see how we can stop the checkmate. So this was the second game of this book, of which I don't pronounce the title to avoid that Google, YouTube, Facebook, or whoever is the censorship in this moment doesn't close the entire channel just because someone in 1997 or 1989 chose the wrong title for a book. Thank you very much for watching. See you next time.